inside the bed.
Nichijou is a 2011 comedy anime adapted from the original manga created by Keiichi Arari. Its 26-episode adaptation focuses on the everyday lives of its characters growing up in a quaint Japanese town. Now you may be asking, why on earth is this deep-voiced man making a review on such a girly and cutesy show? And to that, I have a simple answer. I'm kinda pathetic. That, and the fact that this show is one of the most entertaining cartoons I have ever seen. It's got gorgeous visual storytelling, fascinating characters, thrilling action, and a talking cat. All of this while also being a down-to-earth, relatable show when it comes to people and dealing with everyday problems. You may be doubting my claim on how a show this stylized and silly can be relatable. So to help with that, I'd like to conduct a quick experiment. Play along if you will. Let's look back to a time where you really embarrassed yourself. You were walking down the street, paying no attention to where you were going, when you suddenly bumped into a stranger. You were red with embarrassment as the stranger fell to the ground. You apologize many times for not paying attention, but the stranger tells you it's fine and not to worry about it. They leave and continue on with their day, while you just stand there, awkward and ashamed. A pretty normal and relatable situation, is it not? Now, let us take a moment to see how the show Nichijou handles this same interaction. Good going, jerk! Not only did you bump into that man, but because of you, the city is destroyed and everyone in a 10-mile radius is dead.
Loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Well, you should be, because you are dirt!
Now, these are two very different interpretations of the same situation. But I ask you, which one better illustrates how you feel when you're embarrassed? Sure, in real life, the exchange probably looked like the first example, but emotionally, you probably felt like this character here. Now, the city doesn't actually explode in the show. There really is no major harm done to anyone. However, this exaggerated interpretation of an everyday situation powerfully illustrates how a person may feel when embarrassed. And that's what the show gets right. Exaggeration. Not to mention, it's also funny as all hell. You may disagree, but I think what makes the show so hilarious is that not only are we laughing at the characters on the screen, but ourselves in the process. We, as people, like to exaggerate our lives, treating menial things as if they're much more substantial. After all, I'm sure we all at one point thought we were a ninja just because we were trying to swat a tiny fly. So what is an actual episode of Nichijou like? Typically, each episode is a collection of skits adapted from the 2006 manga by author Keiichi Arari. Sometimes, the skits occasionally come from Arari's other manga, Helvetica Standard, yet the focus still remains on the former comic. Each skit in the show often stands on its own, making it easy to watch any episode in any order. Most episodes typically follow a trio of girls, Yuko, Mio, and Mai, as they deal with the normal issues of growing up in high school. Their stories often involve typical childhood adventures, such as forgetting to do homework or going on roller coasters. Alongside, there's a B-plot involving a child's super genius professor, her android assistant Nano, and their talking cat Sakamoto. Their adventures add a science fiction aspect to the show, featuring wacky inventions and antics every episode. Now, this is just a theory, but I feel these characters follow a very similar story structure to another popular cartoon. Think about it. 3 kids who deal with growing up trying to seize the day and make the most out of life, while a crazy scientist and their robot assistant create inventions that are threatened by a small, rectangular mammal. I mean, that's a pretty unique tagline. It can't be anything else that possibly has the same... Oh, no.
Oh, for crying out loud! What, you're done already? You only been in there for like 15 seconds, and I was talking for half of that. What kind of a plumber are you? A kitty cat's plumber? Sakamoto the kitty cat's plumber? Sakamoto the kitty cat!
If you pardon the gag, Phineas and Ferb and Nichijou are really nothing alike. The stories each one tells and their humor are quite different from each other, despite the similar premise. The shows also release within a year of each other, so the odds of one ripping the other off are pretty slim. That said, I wonder if the creators of Phineas and Ferb ever read the Nichijou manga. I like the characters of the show. The lead role goes to Yuko, an ambitious and upbeat girl who happens to have the worst luck in the world. She suffers from the normal childhood problems, to forgetting to bring your homework to school, to having someone steal your bike seat and replace it with broccoli. She is also socially very awkward and somehow always manages to say the wrong things. My favorite moment from her is when she messes up an order for coffee from a Starbucks-esque location. Seriously, why is the smallest size for a coffee called a tall? I've embarrassed myself so many times trying to figure out if a tall cup is larger than a grande cup. Just be normal like everyone else! Despite her constant failures, Yuko remains optimistic and keeps trying to improve, and it's easy to admire her determination. Mio is the much more collected character of the group. She's a hard worker and is often the voice of reason, calling Yuko out on her shortcomings and urging her to get better. Her biggest character flaw comes from the fact that she's an artist. Namely, she's an artist who doesn't have much confidence in sharing her artwork, which she has good reason to. Let's just say she has a bad habit of drawing rather lewd art of a boy she likes in her notebook. The measures Mio will take to make sure no one sees her art create some of the funniest scenes in the whole anime. If anyone touches her drawings, she does whatever is necessary to prevent someone from seeing them. I don't want to spoil too much, but knocking out her best friend and bribing a police officer are some of the tamer things she's done. Remember what I said about the show an exaggeration? Well, ask any artist and they will tell you when they first started out, they would have loved to go to the same measures as Mio. Basically what I'm saying is, if you watch my videos in front of me, I'm not responsible for any damage that I may cause to your body. Rounding out the trio is Mai. She's alright. She's mostly a level-headed kid who doesn't talk very often. She doesn't do too much to move the plot along, but she's by far one of the show's most unpredictable characters. Her favorite pastime is just to do strange and random things solely to mess with people. Namely Yuko. If Bugs Bunny were an anime girl, she'd look like this. These three characters play off each other greatly, and are great catalysts for most of the show's comedy. Despite how great the main trio is, any fan of Nichijou will tell you the best part of the show is the B-plot. Meet Professor, an 8-year-old who has somehow already gotten a college degree. This child prodigy is so smart, she basically has the ability to invent anything she desires. However, she's still a kid at heart, and really only invents things if she thinks it's cool or cute. This girl could be making weapons of mass destruction, and is instead making a cake dispenser out of her android's arm. Speaking of, meet Nano, the professor's android assistant. Stop me if you've heard this before. She's a robot who just wishes she could be a real girl. Despite looking and acting older than Professor, she is only a year old. She rarely interacts with the outside world, and when she does, she's often incredibly awkward due to her looking like a robot. She begs the Professor to remove the key in her back to make herself look more human, but her cruel creator denies her pleas because she finds the key cute. Nano is often pushed around by the Professor, and I was waiting for an episode where she revolts and puts that puny 8-year-old in her place. But of course that never happened. Despite this, the two actually have a great sisterly relationship and genuinely care for each other.
It's too cute! It's disgusting!
And then there's Sakamoto, a black cat that can only talk because of a red scarf the professor made for him. He serves as basically a nanny for the two girls, and is often the guinea pig of the professor's inventions. He's the best character in the show because he's a talking cat.
Say something.
You'd think featuring two sets of main characters would overcomplicate the show, but I feel they play off each other very nicely. They all live in the same city, so it just feels like we're getting a better look at the world they live in. It also makes you wonder if their lives will ever intersect. Watch the series and find out. Let's not forget the amazing supporting cast in Nichijou. So amazing, in fact, that I don't remember any of their names. I remember Mohawk Guy, Bunny Girl, Girl who shoots people with military weapons whenever she feels insecure, and Shuttlecock Crow. I'm not saying these characters are bad, they just mostly exist for one-off jokes to flesh out the world. It makes me want a series continuation that focuses more on them, especially Military Girl. I want to see her eventually pull out a Panzer tank. I do have to complain a bit about the character designs. You see, whenever you want to create a recognizable cast of characters, it helps that you give each character a unique face to keep them recognizable, even if their bodies aren't visible. This makes it easier for the audience to identify an individual character within a large cast. But in the case of Nichijou... yeah, everyone has the same face. This isn't that bad of a problem once you get deep into the series, but I honestly thought Mio's older sister and Mai were the same person when I first started watching. All you gotta do to prevent this from happening is to give each character a unique nose. Now everybody's easily recognizable.
じゃあ見ててみ。ほらお手。
I started watching the show during my final year of college. After dealing with a busy lifestyle of assignments and tests, it felt good to sit down with a friend and relax to such a pleasant cartoon. The show's art direction and music create an experience that can feel very therapeutic and relaxing, even when there is fast-paced action on screen. I watched the show with the original Japanese dub, which is how I prefer to watch any foreign show. I did watch it with English subtitles, and that worked well enough to help me understand the plot. Although, I did sense a major cultural divide when it came to a few jokes in the series.
Merry Christmas!
I did not know why the scene was supposed to be funny, yet I laughed anyway. After doing some research, aka reading the YouTube comments beneath the re-upload of the clip, I have learned that in Japanese culture, an adult giving a child bread is a sign of disappointment. Santa, being a Western creation, is ignorant to Japanese culture, thus why the boy cries when he is given melon bread. I watched the English dub released in 2019 to see if they explained the joke better, but they didn't really change anything about the scene. I guess this is a joke that only weebs can understand. Speaking of the English dub, it's fine and is available through streaming by Funimation, but it's just not for me.
I'm back from the grocery store. Hi, Anano. It's that cat! I captured the beast! You can't bring in cats that you find on the street. What? But he's so cute. For some reason, I just find high-pitched anime voices a lot more annoying in English.
In conclusion, I really like this show, and many circles online will agree that this is one of, if not the best, comedy anime out there. It even eventually works into some deep lore about a princess and a war going on between two kingdoms. I'll leave it to you to figure out what's going on here. I should mention that upon its original release, Nichijou actually wasn't received very well. Low DVD sales plagued the show in Japan, and it most likely did not break even with its budget. Most audiences just found the show unremarkable, and its episodes received mostly average ratings. Critic Chris Beveridge on the now-defunct Mania.com gave the anime a D, describing the show as,
Nichijou is so full of fluff and pointlessness that it's hard to get enthused about. Nichijou is that rare cult series that has such high-end values to it and so many layers and richness that people will overlook because it's a comedy that I cannot recommend it enough. A+.
Nichijou receives a ton of praise nowadays, cementing the show as being way ahead of its time. It managed to find its audience eventually, especially with anime becoming much more available throughout the world. It's a bit disappointing that this gem of a series went underappreciated for so long, and is probably why it never got a second season.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
I'd love to see more of the show, as I can imagine this cast of characters having endless adventures. The manga it's based on ended in 2015, after nearly a decade run, so I can always turn to that if I ever need more. Fans say the spirit of Nichijou gets carried on in Arari's later manga, so perhaps I'll give that a shot one day as well. And with that, I leave you with what I think is one of the greatest comedy animes of all time. If you want a show with fun characters, beautiful landscapes, great comedy, and talking animals, Nichijou gets my recommendation.
Why do you look like that?
Oh, this? I don't know, I just thought it'd be cute.
Well, I see it as an improvement. You finally have ears now.
Alright, you know what? Yeah, try talking without a magic scarf, you mutt. Good night, everyone. Hope you all have a safe and wonderful 2020. Be sure to like and subscribe so I can fill the void that is my self-esteem. Thanks for watching. This video took a little bit longer to make than my other ones, as I try to put a bit more effort into it. The reason I can justify that extra effort is because of my patrons, as they help give me the motivation to work and the money to survive. If you'd like to support future KinglyPeasant videos, consider becoming a patron and receiving access to behind-the-scenes content and previews. If you can't do that, just liking the video and sharing with your friends helps a lot too. I'll greatly appreciate anything you do to support the channel. If y'all enjoyed this cartoon review, be sure to let me know. If there's a show you'd like me to look at, make sure you leave a comment. You can also direct message me over Discord and Twitter. Hope you're all staying safe during this quarantine, and I'll see you all next time!
Ow.
Sorry. Oh no, sorry. That's gonna be the after credits.